Cody checking in with another vlog for all my YouTubers out there. Boy, there's no getting around it, and I hate idle conversation that starts off with the weather, but it is just hot. It is hot. It's hot everywhere. I know New York had record temperatures last week. This week I heard something about a cold front. We'll see, but it's just been a hot year so far. One funny way I saw some people coping with it is when they went into work, they would put in a baking sheet of cookies on their dash and leave it there, and when they come back, I don't know, 4 hours or 5 hours later for lunch, you got some cookies to eat. And also, your car smells like cookies, which I thought it's kind of a brilliant idea, really, because you could bake that smell into your car. And I mean, hell, if you didn't even want to eat the cookies, you could throw them away afterwards, but just the smell would be delightful. But it's just that damn hot that people are baking cookies in their cars. Yeah, it's hot.
Noyjeetut, Noyjeetut. Everybody loves some Noyjeetut. Noyjeetut, Noyjeetut. Everybody loves some Noyjeetut.
It was neat. I saw this little story about how they're making light bulbs, or fake light bulbs, for third world countries that don't have electricity. People don't have electricity in their little huts and stuff. What they did was they took a 16-ounce water bottle, or 16 ounce. It could be a Coke bottle or whatever. Those are usually what the gas station sells. And you take off all the wrappings, of course, and everything, and you mix in water, and you do like 2 teaspoons of bleach, and then you have half of it sticking out of the tin roof, and the other half sticking into your little hut, and it like takes the rays of sunlight and projects them down into the hut. So during the day you have light, which I thought was pretty neat. That's pretty interesting. That kind of innovative thinking is really going to save a lot of people there a lot of time from fumbling around in their huts. Sadly, I mean, it looks really pathetic, when you look at it from our end, where we have technology and you're watching this video on a computer and all that jazz. But if that's all they got, it's pretty nice to have that. The NFL lockout just ended, and they're gonna play ball. Woohoo! It's kind of hard to get excited about millionaires fighting billionaires, but what have you? It happens, and they have an agreement now, and we'll have a ball season. And but really, what I was interested in is finally some results from Dave Durison's brain came back. Now, the whole Dave Durison story is like this. The guy was an ex-football player. I believe he played for the Bears back in their glory years. Played through the 80s and 90s. He was actually a really smart guy. But through trauma, brain trauma during his games, it started adding up, and concussions and stuff started making him pretty much an invalid during the end days of his life. And not too long ago, he killed himself. But he shot himself in such a way that it did not harm his brain at all. And he wanted his brain to go into the brain trust. This is where they dissect brains and stuff and find out, what was wrong. And they're able to get a complete diagnosis, because they're not having to work on someone they're trying to keep alive. They just, someone is dead, and they're able to cut up that brain and look at every detail and see what was wrong. And the results they were getting back is they were surprised that this man could even walk, talk, just do normal functions, because his brain was so scarred and stuff. And they showed when a concussion happens, like how the little nerve and the little cell dies. It's almost like on a microchip you see, or a computer chip, just how you'll see one where it's dead and you can replace it or weld over it or something. But what happens though is this little fat tissue grows in there and replaces the space, and then that eventually starts spreading to other places in the brain. And it's just really scary stuff, and it's really sad. And it makes you wonder though, that's what we really need in the NFL, or anything, any sport really, is just better protection of these concussions, Something along the lines where you're pulling the player out to recover from a concussion when it's much, much needed. I don't know why we aren't doing this. Well, I know why we aren't doing this. It's because of money. Johnny wants to see, Ray Lewis play the 16 games. And, that guy wants to make money, so he wants to play the sport. But when it has this kind of long-term effects, we really need to start enforcing tougher laws about concussions and have them tested after games, before games, and make sure they take the time off needed to heal properly, because it's a big joke. And when these people are getting these injuries, when these players are getting injuries in high school and college, and they're not even making that much money, if money at all, it's just a joke. It's a giant joke. Now, the sad part is that they are a lot of players making good money in college, and also it's starting to even trickle down to the high school level where they'll get paid off in cars and certain luxuries around school. But we need to be able to, row back the sands of time and get back to a place where we treat students like students and don't coddle them as much and don't put so much pressure on them to perform at these levels when they could get a serious brain injury early on in life, like Dave Durrison here. That's just unexcusable what happened to him. It's really sad. In fact, there was a fighter not too long ago that kind of had I believe Chuck Liddell actually had a concussion he never got over, and that's why he was so easy to knock out. There was this fighter who had the same problem. Forgot his name, but he had a beard and had really long hair, and I want to say Olaf or something, some crazy name. And the guy just kept on getting punched in these fights and getting knocked out. And he would have these fights closer and closer together, and every time he got knocked out. Well, it happens that he got knocked out that first time. He had the same concussion he was carrying around for all those other fights. And he's just risking more damage and taking more damage and not healing properly. And that's just inexcusable. That should not be happening. And right now he's been taking a few years off of fighting to try to get everything in his head right. But it's just sad that he had to go through that. But I mean, a little bit can be put on him, but also these promoters and these doctors clearing people for fights when they're seriously injured, it shouldn't be happening. So it shouldn't be happening at NFL level, shouldn't be happening at MMA level, should not be happening at any level. Probably happens a lot in rugby, I'd guess. You want to come back, contact sports, hockey, something like that. But we just need to take better care of our pro athletes. It's just a joke. And that was kind of my rant. It's just despicable what's happening right now. I know back in the 60s, the guy that did the Billy Jack movies had actually a really good high school career, and he was making about average pay in college football. And he wasn't that great of a player, he was saying. He was saying he was an average player. And I could not even think about how much more it is today without hurting my head. But so much pressure on these young athletes to perform, and it's just scary. It's just wrong, and it's scary, and they're being taken advantage of pretty much. So yeah, that's my rant for today. Also, every once in a while when I catch a movie, I like to tell people about it, just to say how I like that movie, or if I did not like that movie, or if I was in the middle. I caught Bad Teacher this week. Daniel had found it on our streaming site, and we watched it. And you know what? It was pretty good. I actually liked it, kind of. And I wanted to draw the line. A lot of people didn't like my Weatherman review and said I didn't get it or I didn't understand it. And I think a lot of those people are really really down the scale on where they can actually see themselves in Nicolas Cage's level or in his character. But Bad Teacher kind of does that too, where Cameron Diaz is just this awful human being, but she's likable. That's a real acting job to me, is being such a bad person, in this character, but also maintaining a likability factor. And to me, that's what Nicolas Cage could not do in Weatherman, but Cameron Diaz does it here, where she's just a bitch and she's just an awful person. But it's kind of funny to laugh at her problems, or the problems she brings upon herself, but also to kind of root for her quietly in the back of your head, because you see a potential for her becoming a better human being throughout the process. Where in Weatherman it was just Nicolas Cage shitting around for 2 hours. And the big change was he walked around with a bow in New York when he got the job transfer. Okay. But yeah, Bad Teacher, I'd say check it out if you like this kind of new wave of comedies. Knocked Up and Super Bad. It kind of fits in that category where there are a lot of almost too many pit stop jokes. And when I say pit stop jokes, they don't really flow with the story. It's almost like you take a pit stop and you go over here and you laugh a little bit, then you get back on the story and drive on. There are a lot of those, and that seems like it's a new fixture in all comedies nowadays. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, though. I thought it was pretty funny, and I enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, Bad Teacher was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was funny. So there you go. I'd say check it out. There's boobs. They have boobs. Now with boobs. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later, my evil goodwill cashiers. You'll understand that a little bit later.